Alright guys, hey, what's going on? Of course, I am your girl, Sin, the Phenom, and welcome to Sin TV Now, your only live review news show here on YouTube, where we focus on three things: smart, intelligent news, AMBW, and Asian culture. All that good Asian culture news, right? But today we're going a little bit different direction. We're going to be talking about Christina Aguilera's album that came out not only like 2 days ago. I didn't even know she had a new album out. So you know, Christina Aguilera is like the whitest Latina, part white, like white black girl realness. Like she's the whitest, blackest woman ever. So you know that when her album came out, I had to review it, like no lie. But without further ado, let's get down to business. Alright guys, so let's do it. Let's get down to business here. Let's talk about Christina Aguilera before we get to the album review. So a little bit more about Christina Aguilera. Her father actually was Fausto Wagner Aguilera, and he was a U.S. Army sergeant. And her father is actually part Ecuadorian, but her mom was American born, and she has English, some Scottish and Irish and German ancestry. So like Christina grew up in a very unique household, very multi-ethnic, just diverse in general. But the interesting thing is, although her father was Ecuadorian, she really didn't speak much Spanish. But then once she came out with her Spanish speaking album called Mi Reflecto, which came out in 2001, she started learning Spanish again and practicing and getting back to her roots and getting a little bit better at it overall. Now, Christina Aguilera has sold over 50 million albums, guys, worldwide. So she's not on the level like Toni Braxton, but she is up there, and she has won tons and tons of awards, guys. Okay, so first off, she was ranked in 2009 number 58 on Rolling Stone's list of the 100 greatest singers of all time, and she became the youngest and only artist to be featured on that list at the time to be under 30. So that's quite a feat. And then Billboard also recognized her as the 20th most successful artist of the 2000s. And Time listed Aguilera, and this is coming from Wikipedia, among the top 100 most influential people in the world of 2013. Okay, so besides her music, guys, she has also been heavily involved in dealing with human rights and world issues, and she also became a UN ambassador for the World Food Program. So, you know, if you take away the voice and everything, she has a really good heart. But let's really get to business here. Is Christina Aguilera's 8th studio album, Liberation, is it a really proper comeback? Now, I did see an article from from USA Today, I believe. No, it was Billboard, pardon me. It was Billboard, and it was saying that Liberation, from what the fans have kind of come, their conclusions, is it's a masterpiece. So let's really break this down. Is Christina Aguilera's Liberation, this album that the production actually started, guys, in 2014 and really didn't finish up until around 2017, but is this album really up to par? It's been 6 years since Lotus, which was her last album, which was terrible. And then a couple of years before Lotus, she had Bionic, which, I mean, Nicki Minaj couldn't even save that album. So you know that album was bad. And those two albums were her lowest selling to date, okay? So Liberation This is the album breakdown, her 8th studio album. You have 15 tracks. I think 15 tracks is a lot for a comeback. It's a lot to take in. She also included 2 interludes as well. So let's break down all 15 of these songs, the listing here, okay? And this is coming from genius.com. We have Liberation, Searching for Maria, then that's like the interlude to Maria. Then we have Sick of Sitting, Dreamers featuring Summer Rain, Fall in Line featuring Demi Lovato. That's like the main hit off of this album. And then we have Right Moods featuring Kata, and I love the fact that she used a reggae dancehall performer too, named, hopefully I said this right, I'm saying this correctly here. The heat is really getting to me, guys, let me tell you. Sensia, and then you have Like I Do featuring Gold Link. That's probably one of the stronger songs on the album, in my opinion. Then you have Deserve Twice, I Don't Need It Anymore, which is another interlude that transitions into the second single off of the album, Exhilarate, featuring 2 Chainz and Ty Dolla $ign. Then you have Pipe featuring Xdida. Then you have Masochist, and then the album concludes with Unless It's With You. Okay? Now, from some of the critic reviews that I have read, there are a couple of problems with Liberation. The first issue that I had with this album is that, and this is just me, there's a lot of hypocrisy that's being said in this album, including the hit song Fall in Line, which is supposed to be this very strong feminist anthem, you know, telling girls that you can be whatever you want to be. And I think this song is also reflecting Christina's own personal journey and struggle that she had in the entertainment industry. Because here's the issue that, and this is why I feel Christina Aguilera could be up there with the divas, okay? I'm talking the Beyoncés and all of that. But the problem with Christina Aguilera, in my view, is that she transforms way too quickly, way too often. The best album, in my view, that Christina Aguilera has done was Back to Basics, pardon me, which was an album that was really paying homage to the jazz greats like Billie Holiday and Etta James. And these are women that Christina Aguilera considers some of her main influences, which I thought, you know, was really interesting. But she just always is changing her image way too soon. Okay, I think that if she would just follow just her heart and just stay stagnant with something for a little bit, I think that would help with her longevity. This was one of the reasons why some critics had an issue with Liberation, and it's just, there's so many continuity errors, and for me, hypocrisy. Because Fall in Line, pardon me, featuring Demi Lovato, is supposed to be the strong feminist anthem, but this is the same woman who did an album called Strip and was wearing scantily clad clothes, you know. So that's why the song, I can relate to it. I think it's awesome that she did it, but sometimes it's hard to take a message seriously from someone who is called Xtina. I'm just saying, okay? But besides all that, when the album starts, guys, songs like Searching for Maria, she's paying homage to Robert and Hammerstein's Sound of Music. And she did a really good job. I love how she made it really refreshed. And one thing that Christina is good at is vocal acrobatics. I mean, guys, throughout this whole album, I mean, one of my favorite songs, Sick of Sitting, you know, she really lays it down. But but the thing is, sometimes the acrobatics can get way out of control, and then you kind of get lost. And that's what happens in the beginning of the album, where you have the Liberation opening and you get lost right there, because you're like, why is there all this heavy breathing and all this just... That's like literally the beginning of the album. Makes no damn sense. That needs to be removed. I think she should have just started with Searching for Maria, and then you get into Maria. But then you have that real good country-like song, Sick of Sitting. And one of the themes, guys, that if you do listen to this album, you'll realize that she is reflecting on herself. She's reflecting on her life, and a lot of like the BS that she put herself through to appropriate in regards to being a part of the entertainment industry. And a lot of times that's what you have to do when you are a young pop star, and that's what happened to Christina Aguilera. And I think this is the reason why she's been lost for so long and she just can't find her voice is due to this, the pressures of people, you know, telling you what to do, which she mentions in fall in Line, but also some of the issues that she had with her relationship. Because remember, she was in a relationship for what, like, I think it ended in like 2011, and she went through a divorce, and that was not easy for her. So a lot of these songs, like Sick of Sitting, and, you know, Right Moves, you know, Like I Do, and Deserve, you know, it's this affirmation of like you love someone, but then they're constantly beating you down, and you still love them, but you know that you deserve better. And that's what that song Deserve really kind of reflects. So I would say that this album is even more personal than Stripped. She really like leaves nothing to the table. You know, she shares her vulnerabilities of being young, and she felt that, you know, her image didn't really match up with who she was as a person, and people taking advantage of her because of that. So there's a lot of serious stuff in this album, okay? So I can respect it on that front. And I mean, you even have some of the lyrics here, this is coming from Billboard, that are kind of reflecting what I'm referring to. So we have Maria, where she says, all my life I wouldn't give up, was too young to know the difference. How did I get so low? When did it turn so cold? Inside of my mind, I believe my own lies. I'm facing a mirror. So, you know, that's from Sound of Music. So you can see that she is having this actualization that she was headstrong in the early parts of her career, and that she didn't really break free until she felt that she had reached this point of liberation. And that's what the album is kind of named after, is allowing yourself to be vulnerable, but you're finally releasing yourself from oppression and being free. And I can respect her for that. You know, I definitely can. And then, of course, one of my favorite songs in the album, Sick of Sitting. Don't try to tell me I'm crazy. It's good pay, but it's slavery. I can't live with these chains on me. I have to get free. And honestly, guys, I think she's talking about when she was a coach on The Voice. Maybe she felt that she was not able to, you know, to be free. So that's what I'm thinking. That song also kind of, you know, reflects as well. And then the other track that I really enjoyed too was Deserve, where she says, sometimes I don't think I deserve you, so I say some fucked up shit just to hurt you, but you know I do it all cause I love you, so baby tell me, I'm the one that deserves you. Do I? Yeah. So that's like, you know, the reason why I love Deserve is because I went through something similar like that, where it's like I loved a guy so much that I was making myself toxic, and then through my toxicity, the relationship also became toxic too. So it's a really smart, it's a very, very, very smart song. Now she has some bomb producers, guys, on this album. You got Charlie Heat, you have Mike Dean, you have Dumbfounded, you have Anderson .Paak, also Kanye West, who produced her second single, Exhilarate. And you can tell it's a Kanye West track just by how the, you know, how the beats are disjointed and synthesized a little bit. And it's not a bad disjointment. It's just, you gotta kind of get used to that type of rhythm. And that's my other issue with Liberation, guys, is that the rhythm is all over the place, okay? So, I mean, you have songs like Right Moves, where you have this island kind of reggae feel. It's very similar to the song that she did in the past called Can't Hold Us Down, I think is what it was called. So it has that similar kind of feel. And then you kind of go from that to just a strange song called Masochist, you know. And I think every woman has been in that kind of, or any relationship, you know. You get through a phase where you're like inflicting your pain on someone else when it's not their responsibility, you know, for them to take that type of pain, so you internalize it as well. That's what I took from it. But the songs are just all over the place. I mean, you start with a operaphonic, you know, Maria, and then you're going to, you know, the right moves, and then you end with this very soft and melancholy. So it's very disjointed. I think that she may have, I think in my view, she should have split this into 2 different concept albums, and I think that would have worked a lot better for her. Like, you have one album, just like what, you know, a perfect example is the album I just talked about a couple of days ago, Toni Braxton's Sex and Cigarettes. You can see the segmentation. You can see where, you know, she's kind of feeling oppressed and she's going through the shit, and then in the middle of the album where you have that song Copin', you know, she's starting to kind of break a little bit free, and then there's the resolution in a way. So I think if she balanced the album out like that, I think Liberation would be a much more solid album in my view. But there are 2 music videos, of course, Fall in Line. I think that is probably one of the best duets and the strongest duet on this album. Christina Aguilera's voice, the operaphonic, the high, you know, soprano, really complements Demi Lovato, who can also belt it out as well. So I can see how, you know, why they kind of paired them up together. They have really good song chemistry. So I definitely, the music video was also really good too. You know, kind of showing them as kids, and then them being imprisoned and being this, you know, the slaves to the system, and then finally breaking free and, you know, doing something with their lives. If that's how I interpreted it. But then you have the second music video that I just watched today called Accelerate, and that has 2 Chainz and Ty Dolla $ign. And I don't like the video. I think it is absolutely tacky, it is absolutely trashy, and just the whole honey dipping with the, you know, showing her boobs and stuff. I mean, I'm sorry, Christina, you are 37 years old, you are gorgeous, and you are very fine, but you don't need to do that. That's the same thing I say with Nicki Minaj. Like, Nicki Minaj, you're a hip-hop, you know, rap, you know, you're a rapping legend, okay? You've been doing it for 10 years. You do not need to up your sex appeal, okay? Like, you don't need to do that, because you have a fan base that understands what, you know, you do, so you don't need to do anything extra. And I think Christina Aguilera, to me, is trying to keep up with like the Nicki Minaj's, the Beyonce's, the Cardi B's and stuff. And I just feel that Liberation is a very mature pop album. I would not recommend this album for the younger generation, because there are a lot of themes in this album that I think some young people, I don't think they've been to that point in their life per se to really understand what she's getting at. So I just think at this point, and this is just me, at this point, I'm not saying if you are in your 30s or your late 30s that you can't be sexy. Look at Toni Braxton. But you can see that Toni Braxton has transitioned from that youthful pop sound, and now she's making more mature adult contemporary music, because she knows that her demographic, they're just not young anymore. So the music video Accelerate, it's very trashy to me, because she's trying to keep up with the Kardashians, no pun intended. But I just think you have to get to a point in your music career where you are comfortable in your own skin. And quite frankly, Christina Aguilera, this album Liberation, it doesn't reflect that. I don't think this was a really good comeback album. I think she should have waited and really did a better distribution of maybe spreading those songs out, have 2 different concept albums. I think that would be cool. You have your, you know, coming back ex Tina kind of album where you have those sexy dance hits like Accelerate and stuff, and then you have a separate album like Sex and Cigarettes where you really get down, you get the ballads and everything, like what she did with Back to Basics. That's why Back to Basics to me is the best Christina Aguilera album for when she was more of an adult, you know. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed her, you know, her debut album, but you could tell that her heart was not really into those songs, you know, whereas Back to Basics, she really sang, you know, and you could feel the soul kind of coming, you know, out of her in that way. I just felt like Exhilarate was kind of paying homage to her ex-Tina days, but it was not executed well. And when I think of Accelerate, I think of like Rihanna's, you know, Shut Up and Drive, like something like that. You got cars, you got hot guys, you know, you're zooming down the Sahara Desert or something. Not you with your boobs out, you know, like that's just trashy to me. And I don't know, and this is just alleged, okay? But she did something with her lips or something. Her lips look really different than how they used to. And I'm like, girl, stop messing with yourself. She's already gorgeous, okay? She's got that natural sex appeal. So, like, stop tweaking your face before you really fuck it up. I'm just saying. But of all the songs on this album, which ones are the strongest and which ones are the weakest, or as I like to say, slay or nay? So the songs that really slay, honestly, Maria, Sick of Sitting, Fall in Line, I would say Right Moves, and Deserve and Like I Do. I really enjoy that. The songs that are nay and they really suck and they're bad, Exhilarate. I mean, I love the beat, but her voice is so disjointed. That's the problem with this album. She really did not strategically lay out this album really good because it's just a hot mess to listen to, you know? So I would say Exhilarate. Pipe was not that great. Okay, Masochist. Okay, we get it. You like Pain. Okay, you like 50 Shades, Christina, allegedly. No, I'm kidding. I'm being messy. But, I mean, it just wasn't a really strong comeback. Like, I was expecting her, because here's my thing. She can really sing, okay? This girl there's a reason why they had her do the Whitney Houston tribute, but she didn't do a good job like I thought she would do, okay? Something was going on with her voice there. That's just how I feel. But overall, what do I think about Liberation? Do I think it's a good comeback album? I would say for 6 years, you waited this long. I was expecting you to come out with something. People are comparing this album, guys, to Mariah Carey's The Emancipation of Mimi. I'm sorry, you cannot compare it. You cannot compare those two because Mariah really, you could tell she really strategically, like her team really laid those songs out to really have her come back with this ooze of sex appeal and classism, you know? And this was not reflected in Liberation. I felt that Liberation was an album for her. It was like a therapy album. She just needed to get out all of her, you know, concerns and everything. And then you just throw one dance song in there. It's just not executed well. So if I could give it a rating like I always do, slay or nay, honestly, I give Christina Aguilera's Liberation a mid-slay. There are good things about this album. I think that the certain essence of female empowerment is really good in there. You know, letting these young girls know that you are not an object. You can do whatever you want to do if you put your mind to it. And then she also talks about how sometimes you think you're successful, but success can take time. You know, for her, she's always had this issue. Like, she would go from ex-Tina to the classy, you know, jazz standards bombshell girl, and you know, now she's kind of trying to be vulnerable like Katy Perry or something. So it's always hard to kind of find your place in an industry the entertainment industry that can be highly judgmental and highly critical of you, even when you are naturally talented. So I will give her props on that. But the negatives of why I gave it a mid-slate, like this is an average album, is because there's a lot of hypocrisies in this. You know, you were ex-Tina, you know, you're trying to do the sex appeal on Exhilarate, but yet you're telling young girls and young women out here, like, oh, don't do what I do. So that's a little bit hypocritical, you know, but that's just me. You guys let me know what you think about Liberation. I enjoyed some of the songs, but it's a mid-slate. It's a really average album. Christina, I know you can do better because you are a powerhouse, okay? Bring it, girl. The next album that you come out with, I want for you to bring it. I want for you to just shut me up as a critic, okay? So guys, like I always say, remember to get smart and stay informed.